Welcome to the Bold and Determined podcast with your man Victor Pride. And right here on the podcast for winners, we're bringing you motivation and mindset for the killers and real dealers, the makers and the takers, the winners and the grinners, and goddamn, even the sinners too. Let's get started. Well, hello, my friendly friends. Welcome back to another edition of the Bold and Determined podcast with your man, Victor Pride. What shall we discuss today? What do you say we get started on today's questions? Daniel asks, I need your opinion on an issue. I'm living in Australia and seeing a Southeast Asian girl. She hasn't been in the country long and is everything you would want in a woman and is a million times better than the average Western woman. The only thing preventing me from getting in a relationship with this woman is her race. What do you suggest? Well, I suggest we look at the facts head on, and the facts are Western women are not very good in relationships. They're not very worthy in relationships. They don't bring anything to the table in relationships. So me personally, I would not ever get into a relationship with a Western female ever again. And if you ever go abroad to Asia or South America, you'll be in the same boat I am in the fact that you will never, ever want to get into a relationship with a Western female ever again. Now, is it a problem that she is of another race? Well, to put it bluntly, no, it's not a problem. The only problem occurs when you want to have children. Now, I have said it before, and I maintain it. You absolutely should not have interracial children. It is a very bad thing to do for children to make them half of one thing and half of another, because when you make them half of one thing and half of another, they fit in nowhere. They're like ghosts, apparitions, neither here nor there. A half Asian, half white child will never be Asian, will never be white. It will be stuck between the two worlds. And this produces a problem in the psyche of the child. And they grow up with a complex. And it's better to be avoided than it is to have interracial children. If you're going to have children, they should be full bred. However, if you're not looking to have children and you simply want to spend time with a lovely young lady, then I don't see a problem with it. She's another race. Okay. And it could be a problem if the Australian women were worth dating, but they're not. So we just have to face facts. It's either not have a girlfriend at all or have yourself a Southeast Asian girlfriend. For me personally, friends, I would never have a girlfriend who doesn't act feminine. And that is my issue with American and Australian, Canadian, New Zealand women. They don't act like females anymore. You hear this talk about toxic masculinity, but let me tell you who practices toxic masculinity. Western women. Western women have completely annihilated and completely killed any semblance of femininity in their own character. And they try to act like men, but they're not men. What does this produce? This produces a toxic masculinity. Of course, it only exists in females. That's the funny thing about it. Men do not have toxic masculinity, but females do. Western females. So when you hear about toxic masculinity, understand that it is a projection from the mind of the Western female. And if you want to understand females, if you want to understand the social justice warriors, leftists, communists, understand that everything they say is a projection. So everything that the Western woman says is a projection. Everything she accuses you of is something she actually does. Everything she accuses society of doing is what she actually does. Every name she calls somebody else is what she actually is. So when you hear about toxic masculinity, understand that that is what they practice. They believe that all of the worst aspects of the male character, and this is what they believe. I'm not saying that this is the true aspects of male character, because a female can never be a male, no matter how hard they try. Though they do try, and in their trying to be a man, they become toxic. So there's your answer. Western females are toxic, and you'd be a goddamn fool if you ever got married to one of them. You might find yourself a little snowflake, rainbow caterpillar to get into a relationship with, but often those don't last. And I'll be the first to admit, this society, Western society in general, produces toxic females. The males are not too great, but they're not nearly as bad as the females. So, if you'd like a real relationship in this world where the female is not toxic, you've got to go to different cultures. Generally, that means you've got to find a different race. So when you find somebody of a different race who is happy, healthy, acts feminine, acts like a female, doesn't try to compete with you, is not toxic, but she's a different race. What should you do? Well, as long as you're not going to have children with her, live your life. And don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about what other people say. Because the reality is that even though Western people try to pretend that they're not racist and this and that, that's not true. All people in the world are racist. All people in the world look down on other races. They just do. So people will talk about you. Just don't care. It would be silly to care what a toxic society says about you. Trying to have a healthy relationship. Now, of course, it would be better to have a healthy relationship with a female of your own race. But today, that's not possible, is it? So we've got to do what we've got to do. Don't have interracial children. Date whoever you like. And I know what some of you are thinking. What about the girl? What about the girl? What if she wants children? What if she wants to get married and have a family and this and that? Well, I'll tell you about the girl. If she wanted to have a family, have a traditional family, she should have stayed in her own country. Now she's fair game. And the longer she stays in Australia or any Western country, the more westernized she's going to become. And she's going to become like every other Western female in time, and that is insufferable, at which point you're going to want to get rid of her. So if she wanted to stay happy, stay feminine, stay the way she was, she should have stayed in her own country. She made a big mistake going to Australia, as many of them make big mistakes going to white countries or Western countries, because they're all going to change, and not for the better, and they're not going to get happier. They're all going to get more sad, more depressed, more anxious, more angry. So I say take advantage of the time where she is still, how shall we say this, still fresh, still clean, still natural, because it's not going to last forever. So enjoy it while it lasts. It will change in time. Don't marry her. Don't have children with her. Have a nice time. Simple as that. Leo Sinclair says, "Hi Vic, today was the first day on monk mode. The stretch and meditation routine is not only unique, but invigorating. I felt better literally after the first stretching session. I highly recommend everybody on B&D to follow through with the program. When you follow up with this program, you step into the ultimate path. No lie." Sean asks, "Is the monk mode program kind of like the New World Ronin?" The answer is no. Monk mode is not anything like New World Ronin. Monk mode is more like 30 Days of Discipline. In fact, it's more like the logical extension of 30 Days of Discipline, though you do not have to have read 30 Days of Discipline or have followed 30 Days of Discipline to get anything out of monk mode, because monk mode completely stands on its own. Bart asks, "Uncle Vic, do you plan to publish volume 4 of the Bold and Determined paperback anytime soon?" Yes, we do. That will probably be the next book that we do publish, will be volume 4 on paperback. And don't tell anybody, but I am also working on the Monk Mode audiobook. His next question, "What plugin do you use for the sales page for Monk Mode? The page is remarkable." The plugin that we use is called Thrive, Thrive, Thrive. Google it and use it up. Dr. Sean Baker came by to say, "Hello, Victor. Thank you for giving me a shout out and for suggesting the carnivore diet to your followers. I learned that you mentioned my work from one of my social media followers who happens to read your blog as well. I have released a new book on the carnivore diet that your followers may find useful. Just put my name in Amazon and you will see it." He goes on to say, "I have been an orthopedic surgeon for over 25 years, and I have done this business with maximum ethicality. I don't recommend surgery outright to any patient first. I initially try to see if diet alone can change their symptoms, and it has worked many times. Most surgeons are quite greedy and see prospects as walking money bags willing to cough up $25,000 or $30,000 for a simple procedure. My morals are intact, and I am happy with my financial state. I have made more than enough. My only goal now is to help people, and I am glad to see folks like you changing their life by going against the grain." He goes on to say, "One thing I have learned is that one must not overeat on this diet. The meat is a highly nutritionally dense food, and a little bit goes a long way for the average person. It is a highly sustainable diet, though it is most effective when used in conjunction with traditional herbal remedies and properly prepared plant preparations." Regarding overeating of the meat on the carnivore diet, I find it impossible to overeat on meat because meat is so fulfilling, so satiating, that even just a little bit of meat fills you up and you just stop eating. So it's very different from eating carbohydrates in that regard, especially from eating processed carbohydrates, because you can eat a bag of chips until you've eaten every last chip and you're still hungry. On the other hand, you can eat just a few pieces of meat and get full, as long as you've got some fat content on your meat. It's very easy to get full on the carnivore diet, and the volume of food I eat is way, way less than when I was eating the rice and the vegetables and the fruits and the oatmeal and all those kind of things. So go check out Sean Baker on YouTube. He did appear on Joe Rogan. The episode has more than 1 million views. He was originally the person that got me reinterested in the carnivore diet. Though I originally thought he was retarded for eating an all-meat diet, I quickly changed my mind when I got on the diet and realized the benefits of the diet for myself. MJ asks, do you cook or eat your food raw? And why do you do this given that humans have had fire for 200,000 years or more? Okay, I eat most of my food raw and I eat some of it cooked. I would say I probably eat 75% raw and 25% cooked. According to Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, the book by Weston A. Price, most prehistoric cultures ate a mix of cooked meat and raw meat. And that's what I do. Now, why would I do this given that humans have had fire for 200,000 years or more? There's two answers to that question. The first answer is it doesn't really matter if we've had fire for 100,000 years, 200,000 years, or 1,000,000 years. The reality is stone cold simple. Raw food is healthier than cooked food, and all you have to do to understand that is to start eating raw food, and you get it right away. You simply feel it in your body. You feel healthier. Your mind feels healthier. Your body feels healthier. So if humans have been cooking food for 1,000,000 years, 2,000,000 years, 100,000 years, makes no difference because the inside of your body is the same. Your digestive tract is the same, and it prefers raw food, just like all other animals, all other organisms on the face of the earth eat. There is literally not one other animal, not one other organism that cooks its food. Nature has given us perfect food. Nature does not make mistakes. It is man's folly, it is man's mistake to think that we can make our food better by heating it with fire. Fire kills everything that it comes into contact with. So we take our live food and we kill it with fire. Now, I told you there were two reasons I don't care about how long humans have been cooking food. The second reason is this. There is a delusion in the belief of evolution. The delusion is this. The delusion is that if people start eating foods they're not designed to eat, they're going to become adapted to eating those foods, and then they're going to run efficiently on those foods. That is false. The human digestive tract is the same and will always be the same. The delusion that we're going to get better by eating foods we are not designed to eat is just that. It is a delusion. We are not overcoming our nature. We're not getting healthier with time. We're getting worse. We're getting sicker. We're getting dumber. We're getting weaker. We're not evolving with our new cooked food diet. We're devolving. If evolution were real, then in 100,000 years, people would do well eating Pringles and Mountain Dew. But people are never going to do well eating Mountain Dew and Pringles because it's not food we are designed to eat. The food we are designed to eat has been the same from the dawn of time and will be the same until the end of time. To believe that we are evolving and getting better is simply a delusion, and all you have to do is look at people to see that that is not true. People are not getting smarter. They're not getting healthier. They're getting dumber. They're getting weaker. And all you have to do is look around to see that. And when I was eating those foods, I was dumber and I was weaker. And when I started eating my food raw, I noticed it right away. I came back to life. I came back from the dead. So this is why I eat my food raw, because it's healthier. I don't buy into the delusion that just because we've had fire for 125,000 years, 200,000 years, and by the way, humans have been around for millions of years. And in the fossil records or in the archaeological records, we see evidence of mastering fire somewhere between 125,000 and 200,000 years ago. That means for millions of years before then, we ate raw meat. So I eat what our ancestors ate because I know that they were stronger and smarter than we are today. I know that because when I eat the raw food, I become smarter and I become stronger. When I eat the cooked food, I can feel it. Now, cooked meat is a lot better than eating, say, cooked rice or cooked vegetables or Pringles and Mountain Dew. But eating raw meat is certainly much more efficient. It's more effective. It's healthier. It's better for your digestion than eating cooked meat. There are a lot of things in raw meat that when we cook out of the meat. For example, in fat. Fat is made up of basically two properties. The fat, and then there is a type of water or oil in the fat. And when you cook fat, oil seeps out of the fat and it hardens. So you're getting only half of the nutrients that you would get if you ate it raw. So in a nutshell, the reason I eat raw meat is that I put my faith in nature. I don't put my faith in man. I know that nature has given us perfect food, and I accept that, and I eat the perfect food. And before long, you're going to understand that if you eat raw meat for a time and then go back to eating cooked meat tastes bad. It tastes off. It does not taste good. It does not taste normal. And in fact, when you cook meat, you have to add salt, you have to add pepper, you have to put some butter on it. You have to do a bunch of things to it to make it taste good. Whereas raw meat tastes good all by itself. It doesn't need salt. It doesn't need pepper. It doesn't need butter. It doesn't need anything. You just eat it like it is. And it's delicious every time. It's always fulfilling. And your digestion is great. You never fart. You never have gas. You basically don't even feel it. You don't have an insulin spike. You don't get tired after eating it. You don't even feel like you ate anything. You just feel satisfied. And after that, you feel like you could go run for a couple of miles. There's the long answer to the short question, why I eat raw meat. Jeff asks, you still nap in the afternoons? I don't know what you mean by still. I bet I've had one nap in the afternoon in the past 6 months. So no, I don't ever nap. Rohan asks, Victor, do you think listening to music acts like a drug? I've noticed that after I listen to a really good song, it feels like I got a little high. If I listen to too much music, I start to feel depressed and even tired. People that constantly listen to music that I know are miserable. Many music artists seem melancholy and some commit suicide. Could you shed some light on this? Is it because there are subliminal affirmations in the music or what? No. It's not because it's subliminal. It's right out in your face. They talk about being depressed in songs all the time. Now, music fans often say that this depressing music saved my life, man. But actually, all of this depressing music is what made them depressed in the first place. I've said it a million times. Big-time music fans are always depressed. They always say the music that they're listening to saved their life. Well, it's actually the opposite. It's the music that they're listening to that causes their depression in the first place. Because music, like you said, is like a drug. It's quite like a drug. All drugs give you the problems that they then solve. People who smoke reefer get agitated until they smoke reefer, and then the agitation goes away, but only for a little while. Then the agitation comes back and they have to smoke reefer to calm down, man. And it's the same with the music fans. They don't feel good, so they listen to music, then they feel good again. But actually, it's that music that they were listening to in the first place that made them feel like shit. I basically don't listen to any music whatsoever. My mood is always calm. It's always stable and steady, unless I'm on high doses of red growth and then I want to bite people's heads off. But other than that, and when I don't listen to music, when I eat the carnivore diet, my mood is so steady and calm that I would never ever want to go back to listening to popular music ever again. When I do listen to music, I like to listen to classical music or meditation music or something like that. Because like you said, every single music fan, every big time music fan that I know is highly depressed. There's got to be a correlation there, and it seems obvious to me. Nate asks, hey Vic, you said on a recent podcast that you used to work out ultra hard and then be fried for the rest of the day. I'm currently having this dilemma. I heard you say in a recent episode that you work out less intensely now and are much more productive during the day after your workout. What is your current bodybuilding method for this? Okay. Now, in the past, I used to work out to failure, and working out to failure is very bad for your central nervous system. And I noticed that on mornings when I would go to absolute failure in the gym, I would have to go home and basically lie down in bed. I would be fried for the rest of the day. I would not be able to do any kind of mental work or even any other physical work beyond that. So in the past couple of years, I don't work out to failure anymore, period. I just don't. Now, I was having some issues with my workouts not being great for a long while. Something I've done to reinvigorate my workout routine is I've started doing push-ups like a convict. I started doing 600 push-ups a day, every day. And this is not taxing for your central nervous system, but it's fantastic for the body. It's really, really good for the body. All you have to do is take a look at prisoners who go into jail, start doing 1,000 push-ups a day, come out looking like monsters, to know that, yeah, this absolutely works. And I got this idea from an Aboud video, Aboud. He was talking about he didn't have access to weights in prison. He would just do thousands of push-ups a day. And he would get jacked and strong. And I thought, you know what? Let me give that a shot. My workouts are not going great. I'm not having a real love affair with the gym at the moment. Let me try the push-ups. And I tell you what, the push-ups combined with the diet that I'm eating, combined with red growth, have basically changed my body in just a matter of 3 weeks. I look like a different person. I have been doing a bit of fasting as well to burn some excess body fat. And I'll tell you, fasting really works better than any of the other diet I've ever done for burning body fat quickly. And what I've done is that I've just stopped eating on certain days. So, for example, I might eat my one meal a day on Monday. On Tuesday, I won't eat anything. On Wednesday, I'll eat. On Thursday, I won't eat anything. And I did that basically 4 times. I fasted. I did 4 48-hour fasts, and the fat basically melted off my body. So the push-ups combined with the right diet, combined with red growth, have really reinvigorated my workout routine. And that's what I'm doing right now, and it's working out really, really well. Alex asks, For the past year, I've been eating only meats. I have removed all dopamine activities, including porn, drugs, alcohol, TV, video games, caffeine, etc. I spend all day in nature, but I still feel bored, depressed, and empty. With no external pleasures, my life is now dull, and I feel there is no purpose to living. Why is this? Maybe it takes years of living like a monk to feel normal and happy like a child. No, I would suggest that the reason you don't feel happy is because you're not pursuing anything. You can't just laze around in the forest all day and expect to be happy. The only way that a man is happy is when he is pursuing something, when he is pursuing perfection, when he's pursuing the goal. When he's pursuing the ultimate, when he's trying to achieve the ultimate. You can give up all the things that block you on your path, but unless you are still trying to walk up the path, trying to walk up the mountain and achieve the ultimate, you're never going to feel satisfaction. A man must conquer. A man must achieve to feel happiness. Without that, there is nothing, just boredom. So you must have a goal or multiple goals that you are working towards. Simply getting rid of the vice, but still basically doing nothing all day is not the key to happiness. Getting rid of the vice and replacing it with seeking perfection, seeking to achieve the ultimate, whatever that may be. It will be different for every man. Learn what that is for yourself. But you do have to learn what that is, and you do have to follow that, because that is your mission in life. And without a mission, guess what? Depressed, bored, empty. So find your mission and fulfill it. Kevin asks, you have many followers, including myself. As a man worthy of being followed, do you consider yourself enlightened? Well, I tell you what, let's change the word enlightened to awakened. And the answer to that question would be yes, I am awakened to reality. And so many people are not awakened to reality that it seems like anybody who is awake to reality is enlightened. When in fact, all you are is awake. You can see things that other people can't see. There's a term called hidden in plain sight. And essentially what that means is that people don't want to see things that are right in front of their face. They refuse to see things right in front of their face. I don't refuse to see things that are right in front of my face. I see them and I acknowledge them. Most people don't. And we talked about this with chemtrails before. People look up in the sky and there are chemtrails right there and they literally don't see them. I look up and I see them. They're right there and I acknowledge them. I call this awakening to reality. And many of you who listen to this podcast are awakened to reality, and many of you are not. Does that make me worthy of being followed? Who cares? I don't worry about these things. Regarding being followed, I make content specifically for me. I make the content that I would want to see. I see a lack of this type of content in the marketplace, and I simply create it because I would be the number one fan. I would be the one who read every article, listen to every podcast, watch every video. So that's the secret of creating content and getting followers. Just create the content that is missing that you would want to see. You've got to be your own biggest fan. The type of content you do should be what you would want to see. And when you create that content, it's true. It's true. And people are attracted to truth like moths are attracted to flames. So when you create true content, it's very easy to get followers. It's not difficult at all. It doesn't have anything to do with being awakened or being enlightened. It just means that you create true content and people resonate with that and they come and they follow you. Sumo Slam asks, hi Vic, what are your views on being a judgmental person? We are constantly told from a young age throughout school and religion that we should not judge others. Yet we always state that first impressions counts, which assumes others will judge us. By not judging, we become naive of situations, people's true intentions, and the media. Do you believe that the criticism of judgment is forced upon us at a young age because it makes us more susceptible to being sheep and not thinking critically for ourselves? That is 100% the reason why we're told not to judge people, because the people who are telling us not to judge people are the people who are fucking us, are the people who are trying to get us to do things that are not in our best interest. They're trying to get us, who are manipulating us to do things that go against our own nature. So of course you should judge people. You'd be a retarded fool if you didn't judge people. If a man was coming at you with a knife and a crazy look in his eyes, you'd be dead if you didn't judge that person as crazy and homicidal and then run away. So judgment is inherent in the human, and we have to be manipulated to be told to not be judgmental. All races judge other races based on their race. When you see somebody who doesn't look like you, you judge that person as a threat because they are a threat in nature. It's not natural in nature to be living among people who don't look like you. And when you see people who don't look like you, it usually meant war. So the people who tell you to not judge others don't want you to judge them for fucking you and taking everything from you. So I am very judgmental. I make no bones about it. I judge every single person I see. All of them. 100% of every person I see. I judge them within a millisecond of seeing them. Guess what? So does everybody else. Some people just lie about it. Those people, we call them SJW, social justice warriors. They lie about not judging other people. They lie about, I don't see a color. I don't see a race. I don't see a sex. Yeah, you do. You're just lying about it. All people judge. You should judge because it's what keeps you alive, healthy, sane. Did you ever notice that the people who claim to be non-judgmental are the craziest people on the face of the earth? They've always got a crazy look in their eye. They always support some kind of communistic, socialistic, fairy tale causes that usually end up getting millions of people killed. So you should be very, very wary of people who proclaim not to judge other people, because those people are either trying to fuck you and take everything from you, or they're trying to kill you. So that's the reality of the world. Everybody must be judged. Everybody. The Carnivore Rebel asks, Hi Victor, thanks for all the great info you put out there. Your site and podcast has truly inspired me to be a stronger, better person. I've been carnivore since August. I strongly recommend it to everyone. It will change your life. I am 42 years old and haven't felt this good in years. My question is this. I am married and have a great sex life with my wife, so the no masturbation thing is easy for me. But what about younger guys like teenagers that aren't getting laid regularly? I know I masturbated a lot in high school. I have 2 young sons. Once they are older, should I tell them to never jerk off and wait till they have a steady girlfriend? That could take years. Basically, what do you recommend I tell my sons about masturbation? Is this a serious question? If you don't tell your sons, who's going to tell them? Who's going to teach them? This is the reason why the West is going down the shitter. Because men are not men anymore, and they refuse to teach their sons about the reality of the world. Of course you should teach your sons not to jerk off. That should be obvious. That should be plainly obvious. What else would you do? Buy them a fucking jerk-off station, some lotion, some napkins, and say, have fun, kid. Get started on being a loser right away. Maybe start them young, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, jerking off. Yeah, teach them how to be fucking losers right away. I can't believe the lack of responsibility of Western men and their children. Yes, tell your children not to masturbate. Of course, tell them that. If you don't tell them, who else will? If you don't teach them, you leave them to be taught by wolves. You understand that? Wolves who want to devour them. So be a fucking man. Be a leader. And yes, teach your children right from wrong. Austin asks, Hi Vic, I remember reading your article about Conor McGregor. When he came onto the scene, he had such a fiery and intensity to him that was never seen before. However, he was going on tour to promote his most recent fight against Khabib. That same intensity wasn't there. When he got in the ring, he didn't seem like the same madman that was on the come up. Why do you think he lost his fire? I'll tell you why he lost his fire. He won the 2 championships that he set out to do. So he accomplished his goal. And the worst thing you can do is have a goal that you accomplish, because when you accomplish the goal, the fire burns out. Then he made another mistake in that he switched his focus from mixed martial arts to boxing. When he went to fight Floyd Mayweather, he switched his focus. That is one of the worst things you could ever do. When you have such a fire and a passion for one thing, and then you remove that focus and put that focus into something else, it is nearly impossible to get that focus back in the original way that you had it. So he removed the focus to go do a boxing match, and he lost that. Even though it's not his sport, he put all of his focus, his energy into that, and he lost, and that is psychologically damaging. So regardless of all the money he made, he was psychologically damaged. He removed his focus. And then on top of that, you think he made quite a bit of money. Now, he didn't make as much money as most people think he made, but he made quite a bit of money. And making money is also, they say it's hard to get up and train when you're sleeping on silk sheets. And when you make a lot of money like that, your mind starts to play tricks on you. You think you're better than you are. You think, I don't need to work as hard. I don't need to focus as much. All kinds of things happen when you make a lot of money. So there's basically your 3 things. He made a lot of money. He removed his focus, and he accomplished the goals that he set out to accomplish. Now, when he went to fight Khabib this last time, he made another big mistake. That big mistake was promoting whiskey instead of focusing on his fight. Again, he removed his focus. Focus is the key to everything you want to achieve. Focus, focus, focus. He was not focusing on the fight with Khabib. He was focusing on selling his whiskey. I'll tell you one thing he did that when he did it right away, I knew he was going to lose the fight 100%. Now, during the build up to the Mayweather fight, he had a very famous quote where he said, everybody on 3 say, fuck the Mayweathers. 1, 2, 3, fuck the Mayweathers. Yeah. Okay. So he was then fighting Khabib, and he was having a press conference talking about fighting Khabib. And then at this press conference where he's getting prepared and ready to fight Khabib, this is what he said. He said, everybody on three say, fuck the Jameson brothers. And everybody in the audience was like, what? Who the fuck are the Jameson brothers? You're here to fight Khabib. Now, Jameson is a famous Irish whiskey. He was introducing an Irish whiskey, competing with that. But that shows you right there that his focus was simply not in the fight, and he lost his focus, and simple as that. That's why he doesn't have a fire. That's why he doesn't have a passion. He lost his focus. Probably never get it back. Now, regarding his money, everybody wants to talk about how much money he made in that Mayweather fight, that he's never going to have to work ever again in his life. Well, that's half true. It seems to me like Conor's going down the Mike Tyson path, and that he's going to be broke sooner or later. And he didn't make nearly as much money as people think he made in that fight. Now, you gotta understand that he had to give a good chunk of that money to the UFC. So whatever he made, probably half of that went away right off the top. Then you got managers, agents, all kind of stuff. So he made some good money. He didn't make lifetime money. Let me put it that way. Naranta asks, does the carnivore diet help us to deal with idiots and get rich? Well, it does help you to deal with idiots in the sense that you become so much calmer. You become so much more at peace that when you have to deal with idiots, it's easier, and you don't lose your cool, you don't lose your temper unless you take red growth on the side. But other than that, it makes you much easier to deal with idiotic people and to not get emotionally invested in it. Regarding getting rich, it helps you develop mental clarity that you do not have when you're eating carbohydrates. You simply have no idea what it's like to have a clear head if you're eating rice and vegetables and grains and breads. You have absolutely no idea what it's like to have a clear head until you eat zero carbohydrate, all meat diet. And when you have a completely clear head, anything is possible. There's nothing in your way. You can do anything you want at that time. If your goal is to get rich, then absolutely, you must have a clear head to do it. Bill asks, I follow the carnivore diet strictly. However, would it be okay to drink some whiskey and smoke some cigars once or twice a month? Would that have much of a negative effect? I don't think it's going to have too much of a negative effect if you want to go out and smoke cigars and have a whiskey or two with your friends a couple times a month. I don't see a big issue with it. Now, whiskey does have some carbohydrate content in it, but a couple times a month, I don't see a big problem with it. I'm not a big drinker myself, but I do understand that many people like to go out and have drinks in social situations, talk with their friends, all kind of stuff. So I don't see a big problem with it. He says, also, can you make zero carb ice cream using vanilla stevia for flavor? Yes, you can. You can buy yourself an ice cream maker. You can use heavy whipping cream. You can use a little, you don't want to use too much stevia because the more sweeteners you use, the more you're going to crave sweet things. But yes, you can make zero carb ice cream using vanilla stevia. You can find recipes online. Just Google it. Nick Q asks, I hear about carnivores getting sick for days or weeks just because they ate an apple or something. I see this as a weakness to be avoided. And I wonder, given the world we live in, if it's best to stay strong against these things with small amounts of regular exposure. What are your thoughts on this? Number one, you don't want to believe everything you hear because people who oppose the diet will make up all kinds of things and say all kinds of things that are not true. Secondly, you will feel not great if you're on a carnivore diet and you go eat an apple or you go eat whatever. Not going to feel great. So to mitigate this, yeah, you can eat small amounts of these foods here and there just to keep yourself immune to the poison. And that is how you become immune to all things. If you want to become immune to snake bites, you give yourself a little snake poison here, a little snake poison there, a little snake venom here, a little snake venom there, and eventually you become immune to it. And if you want to eat small amounts, and I mean very, very small amounts, infrequently, of these foods to stay immune to their ill effects, you can go ahead and do that. Breezy asks, when and how are you getting rid of your smartphone? That's a great question. The answer is I don't know because I'm about to hop on a plane to a new country that I don't know anything about. I don't speak the language. I'm going to have to use my phone for maps and for taxi apps and for the translate apps because I don't speak the language. It's difficult to communicate with them. So I'm going to use my phone to translate, call taxis, this kind of thing. So the answer is I don't know. I'd love to get rid of it, but they've made it so darn valuable that it's becoming really difficult to get rid of it, especially when you travel to new countries where you don't speak the language, you don't know anybody. It's really, really handy to have the the smartphone with you at that time. His next question, you recommend sleeping on the floor, not a bed. In a previous podcast, do you sleep on the floor? If so, how are you getting along with it? Yes, I do sleep on the floor at the moment. And the reason I sleep on the floor is because it is better for your posture. It is better for your bones. It's better for your muscles. The human body is not meant to sleep on a bed of feathers. You're meant to sleep on the ground. And so that's what I do. That is one law of nature that I follow. And I find that my body feels a lot better when I sleep on the ground versus when I sleep on a soft bed. A soft bed to me feels like death for my back. It feels like death for the lower back. So I don't like sleeping on a soft bed. If I do sleep on a bed, I like a nice, hard, firm bed. But at the moment, I'm sleeping on a yoga mat on a hardwood floor. I feel fantastic. Peter asks, I have a question. To what extent do you feel monk mode is an all or non phenomenon? What if for some reason a person cannot follow the advice given for a period of time and is only 75% monk mode? Will it be 75% effective or much less so given how all the steps magnify each other? This is a nonsense question. Plain and simple. Pointless and useless. There's no reason to even answer this question. Do what you can do and move forward. Simple as that. Nervous Nelly asks, is forgiveness important? When should we forgive someone? Well, is it important? It could be. You know, in the Christian faith, people say forgiveness is important. I don't forgive people, and that's just as simple as that. I don't forgive and I don't forget. I just don't. I use what people do as fuel to achieve more. So when somebody does something that is needing forgiveness from me, I don't give it to them. I use that as fuel. And what happens is eventually I burn out of that fuel and I just forget about what they did and I don't care anymore. But I don't ever forgive anybody. I use what they did as fuel to help me achieve more. I use it as fuel for my fire. And like all fuel, eventually it burns out and you've got to move on to the next one. And then when it burns out, it's not even about forgiveness because you don't even care what they did anymore. So what's the point of forgiving somebody for something you don't give a shit about anymore? So is forgiveness important? Yeah, it could be. Probably is, but I don't practice it. Delroy asks, hey Victor, I know monk mode is designed to eliminate distractions such as women, but what if my goal is to find a wife? Can monk mode be applied to that kind of endeavor? Absolutely it can. Absolutely it can. It does not matter what your goal is. Monk mode can help you achieve it. And if you're looking for a wife, monk mode is perfect because it's going to eliminate the endless searching for new pussy. If you want a wife, you don't want to be searching for endless new pussy. You want to be searching for that one snowflake who holds out on you. You want to be getting to know somebody. You don't ever want to marry somebody you sleep with on the first day. It's never going to work out in the long term. It never will. So monk mode will give you the time to get to know that person, to get to know her, and to think with a clear head. Because when you're always looking for sex, you don't have a clear head. You're not thinking straight. But when you make the switch in your mind and you're not looking for sex anymore, you're not looking for dopamine anymore, you have a clear head at all times. Some people call this post-nut clarity, where after you have an orgasm, you think clearly. But I'll go you one further. When you decide that you don't even want to have an orgasm in the first place, you experience post-nut clarity all the time. And it's only when you have a clear mind that you can pick the right wife. Because if you're picking a wife based on sex that you're getting, you're not thinking clearly at all. But when you take that out of the equation, you look at everything else. That is when you have a clear mind. That is when you can pick the right wife. That is why monk mode is perfect for somebody who's looking for a wife instead of a fling. Jacob asks, what's your take on the 30-minute to 1 hour window of time after working out? Do you need to eat some high-protein, high-fat animal foods, or can you forgo eating within that window and focus on a clean daily diet to see and feel the results from your workouts? You don't need to eat within an hour of working out. It is a myth. Now, if you're a bodybuilder, you're eating all the time anyway, yeah, you want to eat after working out. But if you're eating one meal a day, it really does not matter if you eat an hour after workout, 30 minutes after workout. It makes no difference. You're going to get lean and mean no matter when or what time you eat. Marcus asks, Vic, what are your thoughts on Brexit? My thoughts are this. They voted for it and it never happened, right? So what's the use of voting? What's the purpose of voting? They voted for Brexit. They didn't get it. That shows you right there. Your vote doesn't matter. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It never did. Now, of course, the British people want to, the actual British people, the real British, of course they want to leave the European Union. I'm sure every country in Europe wants to leave the European Union, but it's not up to them. It's up to their quote-unquote elected officials. who don't care what they say. So simple as that. The government is not here to do what you tell them to do. They're here to get you to do something that is against your best interest. Jay asks, so I get chemtrails are a thing. What are side effects and what can we do to protect from them? Side effects from chemtrails. Good golly, I don't know. I would guess probably, I'm just guessing. I don't know what chemtrails are. Here's my guess are the side effects of chemtrails. Sterility, cancer, and all kinds of other nasty ailments. Now that's just my thoughts. Like I said, I don't know what's in chemtrails. I just know that I see them nearly every single day in the United States. And I hear reports from many other countries where they see them every single day too. And then when you look around, you see people are so sick, they're sterile, they're weak, they're stupid, getting cancer more and more. All kinds of things are happening. You have to start to wonder what in the heck is going on and what are they spraying in the air? Nico asks, working out while in a fully fasted state produces amazing results. I reach new PRs every time I hit the gym fasted, but I cannot duplicate this when I have eaten before. Have you ever fasted for 5 days? I've never fasted for 5 days. The most I've ever fasted is 48 hours. I did do a juice fast for 5 days where I didn't eat any food for 5 days. I just drank vegetable juice and some fruit juice. That was a total and complete waste of time. Totally pointless, totally stupid. I felt terrible. I had a terrible mood the entire time I did that. And I became skinny fat at the end of it. So that was totally pointless. However, on my 48-hour fast, I feel great. I've got great energy and I wake up looking leaner and better every single day. So eventually I probably will do a 5-day fast. I'm sure I will. I'm going to start with 3-day fast. I've already done a whole bunch of 2-day fasts. I'll move into a 3-day fast and probably a 5-day fast, and we'll take it from there. But I am seeing really, really great results from fasting. And one thing I experienced from fasting is that I just feel clean. It feels like my body's cleaning itself. So I'm becoming quite a big fan of fasting. It's a really very powerful tool. And I recommend if you're interested in fasting longer than the 1 meal a day, which I promote in Monk Mode, which is basically a 23-hour fast, a 23-hour daily fast, I recommend you check out Snake Diet on YouTube because Snake Diet has the best fasting content on the face of the earth. So check out Snake Diet. Rohan asks, Hey Victor, what do you think causes male pattern baldness and receding hairline in men? Well, I think all health problems are caused by diet, first and foremost, and then toxins in the environment. Could be toxins in your deodorant, toxins in your shampoo, toxins that they spray in the air. But generally, I view male pattern baldness as not natural, and it's got to be caused by something that is unnatural. That leads us to unnatural food and unnatural chemicals and products that were made in a factory. Then we put these things in our bodies. So generally, I don't experience male pattern baldness at all. So it's not an issue that I've looked into deeply, but I know that when I go to other places where everybody is healthy and they're not eating fake foods all the time, nobody's bald. It's only in places where people are eating fake food all the time that I see baldness. Places like China, places like America, in other places where people are eating natural food all the time, even when they're using factory deodorants and factory chemical products, they're not bald. So I've got to guess that, like all things, it starts with diet, specifically saturated fat. So I would suggest eat a better diet, get your saturated fat, get your cholesterol, see what happens. Joseph asks, what are your views on shamanism? Well, shamanism is I don't even know how you say it, is the belief in spirits. And I'll tell you, all natural people believe in spirits. It's only civilized people who live in modern societies who don't believe in spirits, but all people of the past believed in spirits. All people of the past practice some form of shamanism. So shamanism is a natural part of the human experience, but as unnatural people today, we don't experience it. So I don't, other than the fact that they understand spirits and that they try to communicate with spirits, I don't have any opinion on it other than, yeah, that's what people do. Now, a lot of shamans, or some shamans, perhaps not all, but some shamans like to use psychedelics. And I don't advocate for any kind of psychedelic use. You get these idiot white people going down to South America, going down to Peru to drink the ayahuasca tea. Then they have a psychedelic experience and they open themselves up to demonic possession from spirits. That's what spirits do. They come and they possess you. Some spirits are good, some spirits are bad. And when you take psychedelic drugs, you simply open yourself up to these entities that you know nothing about. So it's a very foolish, very dumb thing to do, to go down and have a psychedelic experience with a shaman, because you don't understand spirits. You don't even know that they're real. Western people don't even understand that spirits are real. But I guarantee you all shamans do. That's what shamanism is. It is the trying to connect with spirits and contact the spirits. And if you go to a shaman from a Western culture with no understanding of this, bad things are going to happen to you. He goes on to say, I have been reading the book called The Life and Times of Augustus Owsley Stanley III, and must say that he was an absolute genius and understood the Kabbalion, etc. However, he seemed to believe that cannabis was designed perfectly for humans, as it can only affect carnivores, and is one of the oldest plants used by man. What are your views on him and other psychedelics such as LSD and DMT? Okay, Owsley Stanley was a genius. Owsley Stanley ate nothing but meat for 47 years. He was a sound man for the Grateful Dead. He wrote one of the best collections on the carnivore diet ever called The Bear's Words of Wisdom. His nickname was The Bear. Regarding his views on cannabis, I don't really agree with him. I do believe that cannabis is one of the oldest medicines used, but I believe people ate it. I don't believe they smoked it. I don't believe smoking something is natural, but eating something is natural. And when you eat it, you get a much different medicinal effect that doesn't get you high. So I'm not anti-cannabis, but I am anti-smoking it. Regarding LSD, LSD was made in a factory by the CIA. And if you take LSD, you are a dope. Everybody I've ever seen who got into LSD changed for the worse. They became stupid. They became frazzled, fried their brain, opened them up to demonic possession. So LSD, I do not support. DMT, again, I do not support it because you don't know what you're doing. You're playing with fire when you're taking these things. You leave yourself open to things you don't have any idea about. And that's a very dumb thing to do. So I don't take psychedelics, never have, and I never will. His third question, once you have reached optimal health, a perfect body, abundant wealth, a loving woman, good friends, and all the skills a man can master, then what? Well, what do you mean, then what? There is no end to the quest for perfection. Every day you should be trying to get better in some way. Every day you should be trying to reach the ultimate. And that ultimate should always be out of your grasp. If you get it, that's the worst thing that can happen. Like we talked about with Conor McGregor, who got what he wanted and then fizzled away. You don't want to get it. You always want to be striving to do better, to do more. You never want to be satisfied. Always be striving for perfection. Jesse asks, hey Vic, longtime reader, couple questions. For one, I'm fasting until the evening, doing 1 meal a day, but I lift in the mornings. Should I have any BCAAs or a scoop of whey post-workout? Or will the muscles be fine until the evening meal? The muscles will be fine until the evening meal. When you are fasting, you do not want to take any calories whatsoever. That's an absolute no on taking whey protein in the morning. However, you can take your branched chain amino acids because they do not have any calories. So if you want to take your BCAAs post-workout, that's fine. But when you're fasting doing OMAD, do not take any other whey protein because it kills the effects of autophagy. It kills the effects of fasting and makes it pointless what you're doing. His next question, is it safe to eat raw beef? Also, did it take a while to appreciate the taste of it? Yes, it's very safe to eat raw beef. All animals in the world eat raw meat. And frankly, I feel it's much safer to eat raw beef than it is to eat cooked beef because when people go to the emergency room for food poisoning, it's always for cooked food. It is literally never for raw food. The only thing you want to worry about when eating raw foods is eating things like liver and eating things like bone marrow from an animal that was given antibiotics or other medicines because those medicines will accrue in the liver and the bone marrow and those toxic medicines could make you sick. So if you want to eat raw, especially the organs and the bone marrow, you want to make sure that you're getting from a nice grass-fed animal that was never given antibiotics. And the best way to do that is to go find a farm near you, buy directly from the farmer. However, I've eaten raw meat from Walmart, Whole Foods, all kind of places, Target. Never had any issue whatsoever with raw meat. It's literally it's like eating nothing. It's just like, it's the easiest food to eat in the world. And it tastes far better. Once you've got a taste for it, it tastes far better than eating cooked meat. It tastes more natural. It just tastes healthier. It tastes more natural. It doesn't even have a taste, to be perfectly honest. It really doesn't taste like anything. The meat itself tastes almost like nothing. The raw fat, when you get some good raw fat, the fat is what tastes really good. If you like ice cream, then you'll love to eat raw fat because cream is the fat. That's what cream is. It's fat. So when you eat raw fat from an animal, it tastes way different than cooked fat. I don't like to eat cooked fat at all, but the raw fat is really, really creamy and delicious. It's basically the most wonderful food you could eat. Simple as that. Artilect asks, I recently injured my back while doing squats. I went to a chiropractor who said I had a herniated disc. He said people should never do squats or deadlifts as there is no safe way to do them, even with good form. He recommended bench press and pull-ups. This chiropractor has decades of experience. We are told most of our lives that squats and deadlifts are good for us, yet so many people are having lower back issues. What are your thoughts on squats and deadlifts? Well, I'll tell you what, he might be right. He might be wrong. I think it depends really on the person's body type, because some people can squat and have no issues. For me, I get plenty of issues. I get a lot of issues when I squat. My body was simply not made to squat, and I've just simply come to accept that. However, I do excel at deadlifting, so I really believe it depends on the person's body type. I don't believe that deadlifting is nearly as dangerous as squatting, because you're just picking up a weight from the ground, which is something you would do in nature. You might go out and pick up a rock in nature or something like that. So deadlifting mimics something we would do in nature. However, we would never put a heavy weight on our back and squat down to the ground and back up again in nature. So that is very, very different. That puts a lot of stress on your lower back. And I can see why the chiropractor would say that squats are very dangerous for people. And I'd be inclined to agree. RH asks, the Chinese government has banned hip-hop culture and actors with tattoos from appearing on television. What is your opinion on that? Well, good for them. They should ban degeneracy. You've got to understand that hip-hop culture in America is pushed by a certain group of people to make the hip-hop listeners, the blacks, do violent crimes. That's what happens when you listen to hip-hop. You get into that violent crime mindset, and then they go to jail. Then the people who push that music on you make money from sending you to prison. So hip-hop is not good for people. It's a very degenerate, vile form of music. I don't support it. I don't listen to it. And good for China for not letting their people become degenerate. Good for them. I support the banning of degeneracy. We put it that way. And there is no hip-hop that has a positive message. It just doesn't exist. It all has a negative message. It either makes you depressed or it makes you a criminal. That's what it's designed to do. If you look into the history of hip-hop and who's pushing it, it is designed to get the listeners of hip-hop to commit crimes and go to prison. And they make money by sending you to prison. In the United States, we have for-profit prisons. You have to understand this if you live in another country. Sending people to prison in America is a profitable venture for a certain group of people. Adriano asks, what is your view on the shape of Mother Earth? I'm almost 100% sure we have been deceived in this regard. Well, you sound like you believe in the flat earth, but let me tell you something. You said, what is the shape of Mother Earth? Well, what is the shape of a womb? What is the shape of mother's womb? Is mother's womb flat or is it round? You answered that question. What is mother's womb, flat or round? And I'm going to weigh in on this flat earth versus round earth debate because it's a stupid debate. I'm going to tell you why it's stupid. One side says it's flat. The other side says it's round. Those things are not mutually exclusive. Those are two different things that these people are arguing about. So you see why they're so stupid. They're arguing about things that aren't even opposites. If one was saying it's square and one was saying it's round, it would make sense. But something can be both flat and round at the same time. For example, a CD, a DVD, a compact disc. What shape is a CD? It's flat and it's round. So why are you idiots arguing about it's flat? No, it's round. No, it's flat. No, it's round. Those are two completely different things and they are not mutually exclusive. One thing can be both flat and round at the same time. So you've got to use better terminology. And in fact, many people think that we are living in a simulation. What would a simulation run off of? A CD perhaps? So what if the earth is both flat and round? Of course it's not. The earth is, of course, round, like mother's womb is round. Like the atoms are round. When you look into a microscope and you look at the teeniest, tiniest atom, you're looking at a teeny tiny planet. That's what our world is. Sherlock asks, you've been mentioning fasting recently. I have some questions about it. Could we add a bit of salt to our water on a fast to help retain electrolytes? Absolutely, you can. In fact, I recommend you drink snake juice, which was pioneered by Snake Diet. And if you just Google snake juice, or if you go to this article, I would leave a link for you with the recipe for snake juice. It is salt, potassium, and baking soda mixed in your water, and it keeps your electrolytes up. And I've been drinking it when I fast. Keeps me feeling great. So I highly recommend you drink your snake juice, which is basically just salt water with a little potassium in it. So it's actually very, very excellent. And great question. Yeah. His next question, should we modify our workouts at all while fasting? The only reason you should modify your workouts is if you have no energy. If you still have good energy, then keep your workouts normal. And actually, I usually have better energy while working out fasted than I do working out having eaten. So you only need to modify things if you have no energy. And if you're fasting 23 hours a day, if you're fasting every other day, you're going to have good energy every time you go to the gym. So not an issue. Joseph asks, what are your views on the Hollywood and the movie industry? Do you believe in the deals with the devil and celebrities having to sell their soul, take part in rituals? I read in Shadow Man about how their agents find attractive people, intelligent people, etc., and strike deals with them. Yeah, you know what? I do believe it. I do believe they do deals with the devil. Now, I'm not saying I believe in the devil, but I am saying that they believe in it. And all of the evidence we have supports that simple reality, and that, yeah, they do these rituals and they do deals with the devil. I absolutely do believe that. Colby goes on to say, in regards to this topic, he says, this definitely happens. That's why they are shutting down Alex Jones, because he's the only one talking about these pedophile rings that the wealthy elites use to keep their power. Most movies are littered with occult symbolism. Even the Hollywood, that is indeed a reference to the occult magic and rituals that takes place. It's used. Everything is hidden in plain sight to make it seem like a joke. Excerpt. The Druids were tree worshippers, especially the oak. The holly was their most sacred symbol because it was sacred to Mother Holly, or Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. Yeah, if you research this stuff, you see that this stuff goes back many, many centuries to the Druids. Seem to be the first practitioners of this type of magic. They were the ones who carried the Hollywood to create their magic. And I was thinking about the Druids recently, and I thought, if the Druids were the first to use a Hollywood and to create their magic, and the Druids were the lawyers and the doctors and the statesmen of their day, we really don't have any knowledge of them. We don't know who they were. We don't know what they did. I thought, does that sound like of people we know today? Is there anybody we know today that runs Hollywood that they're the lawyers or the statesmen, they're the doctors, and we don't know much about them? Are there anybody who sound like that, who sound like the Druids? Druids. Is there anybody that sounds like Druids today? Think about that, my friends. Think about the word Druid. Does that sound like anything you know? Think about it. King of the East asks, hey Vic, you've been talking about magic / the occult recently. Have you read the works by Carl Jung? No, I've never read the works by Carl Jung. I did buy his red notebook one day at a bookstore in Santa Monica, but I never got around to reading it. He doesn't seem interesting to me. And I understand that I've not read his work, so it's unfair for me to say that, but that's the way it is. It doesn't really seem that interesting to me. I've heard about his archetypes, his id and all this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't appeal to me. I like people who use plain English, even though he was Swiss and obviously didn't speak English as his first language. I like plain English. I don't like these talks of the id and the shadow and blah, 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 blah. It's not interesting to me. Perhaps one day I'll get around to reading him. He goes on to say, you mentioned that you hated using the word red pill. You also seem to avoid associating with other red pill bloggers, yet you remain one of the best resources for red pill knowledge for men today. Is there a reason for this, and does it have anything to do with the knowledge of magic / occult that most men are not ready to understand? Well, red pill is a thing that doesn't mean anything, and most people who talk about red pill are not people who I have much in common with. So that is why I don't promote the red pill. It has no definition. Answers. Okay, well, what is red pill? You ask 50 people what red pill is, you're going to get 50 different answers. And that's why I don't talk about it. That's why I don't promote it. It has nothing to do with me. It's something that other people have taken hold of. I promote only things that have a real clear definition, such as the carnivore diet. That has an easy and clear definition. Eat foods from animals, don't eat foods from plants. That's easy to understand in the word carnivore. It's very easy to understand. That's why I'm able to promote that, because I believe in it. It has a very clear definition. Red pill has no definition. You also say I don't associate with other red pill bloggers. Well, that's for one reason. Bold and Determined stands alone. There are no others. Nobody even comes close. And B&D is, of course, not some red pill. I've heard people say this for years. Wow, what a red pill resource. What a great manosphere thing. No. Nothing to do with that stuff. I stand alone. And I will always stand alone. B&D stands alone. Brad asks, Victor, I think the thing I most respect about you is that you never tell a lie. You don't manipulate answers in the way that best suits your donors. I think this is why I'm drawn to your work, Roosh, Sverige, and Varg. You guys don't tell lies. Even though in the case of some of them they are quite eccentric, they are not manipulated and speak the truth to the best of their knowledge. Their info comes from the heart. Why does everyone tell lies these days? I'll tell you why everyone tells lies these days. Because people today don't have any confidence. Confidence has been taken out of people by the schooling system. In the schooling system, you're taught lies and you're taught to tell lies. when you are taught to tell lies like everybody's equal, all these kind of lies like this, you become accustomed to telling lies. I attribute my not telling lies to never paying attention in school. I never listened to my teachers in school, and that was the best thing I could have ever done because I kept my natural instinct. I kept my natural vision. I could see things, whereas other people, I'm not even sure that they're lying. They seem to believe a lot of the nonsense that they say, and we can thank modern education for that. If you want to be a parent in today's day and age, in my opinion, you have to homeschool. You cannot outsource the education of your children to these indoctrination facilities because you're going to raise little liars if you do. So you've got to take the education of your people into your own hands. When you shoo away your children and have them educated elsewhere, you're going to get little liars as a result. Big Rig asks, "Hi Vic, important question for you. How do you tell the bullshitters and scam artists from the people actually selling useful information? There are tons of internet gurus selling courses and books on how to get rich. How do I know that they're actually successful and not just selling bullshit out of their mansion they rented for one night to make a YouTube video for naive people?" Well, you should have a sixth sense about who was honest and who was not. And most people don't have this sixth sense anymore. Most people cannot understand who is true and who is false because, like I said, it has been taught out of them at their school, at their university, because they were taught lies and they were taught to tell lies at their elementary school, at their high school, at their university, that they no longer have any understanding of reality. They no longer have perception. And that's really what it comes down to. If you don't already understand these things, if you don't already have a sixth sense about people, if you can't read people, you're surely not going to be able to because it's been taught out of you. And if you want to relearn it, what you have to do is forget everything you ever learned in school. Forget everything you think you know. Forget everything that you were told to tell. And look at everything with fresh new eyes. It's very easy. It's beyond easy to look at somebody and see if they're a scammer or if they're true. It's the easiest thing in the world. It takes me 1 second to look at somebody and know if they're legit or if they're a scammer. It takes me 1 second. It doesn't take me 2 seconds, 5 seconds. It takes me literally 1 second. I know in an instant. I can read people in an instant. And if you know yourself, you know others. I know that I don't tell lies. And so when I see other people who don't tell lies, I know them in an instant. It's easy to know. It's just instantaneous. And the people who cannot tell a scammer from a honest person is generally not an honest person themselves. Simple as that. If you want to know who's true, be true yourself. If you know yourself, you know others. If you are true, you will absolutely immediately understand who else is true and who is false. Fegalane asks, on the carnivore/natural human diet, are fruits superior to vegetables for carbohydrate intake? On the carnivore diet, there is no carbohydrate intake. Simple as that. Now, in nature, people don't eat vegetables, but they do come across fruits, they come across berries in season, they come across mushrooms, and they would eat some form of leaves and plants as medicine, but not as food. So when we're talking about food, the only food that people would eat in nature would generally be something like berries. And they would do this in the summer to fatten up, or they would eat this as a starvation food. So in general, I think that fruits are probably mildly better than vegetables, but it's all sugar in the end, and it's all genetically modified fake foods in the end. And on the carnivore diet, you simply don't eat these foods because they're not natural and they're not good for you. Joel asks, do you or would you eat rice? I'm in Asia right now and it is unavoidable. No, I do not eat rice, and I would not eat rice unless I was in a position where I could not get fatty meat and I was starving and had to eat something. Then I would eat rice. I would make sure and put ghee or butter in it. But otherwise, no, I don't eat rice, and would never eat rice again unless I was forced to. His second question, I'm slim fit and so are most of the males in my family, including the ones who are 50 and older. Do you suggest I work out despite me not really needing to because of my genetics? Also, I've been eating once a day paleo since I was 17. Okay, you've got a great diet. You've got a good build. You are in shape, but should you work out? Generally, I think that every man should work out because, let's say we lived in nature, we would go hunting every day. So we would get exercise every day. So it is very important, even though you're in good shape, you've got a good body shape, you're slim, you're not fat, and you're eating 1 meal a day, it is important to get exercise and to build strength. And this could be as simple as doing push-ups. You can start with 10 push-ups, 20 push-ups, 30 push-ups a day, and just build it up from there. But generally, every man needs to do some form of exercise because that's what is good for you. That's what you would do in nature. His third question, what does your stretching routine look like? Looking forward to purchasing monk mode. Well, I tell you what, when you do purchase monk mode, you will see the stretching routine because it is in monk mode. Milin asks, what is your opinion on butter from goat milk instead of cow milk? Well, I tell you what, I've had goat milk goat butter one time, and that's it. I only had it one time. So I'm a big fan of butter. I don't care if it comes from a cow or from a goat. I'll take it. I like butter. I love butter. I'll take it. If you can get some good goat butter, good. Take it. Eat it. I generally prefer raw butter, so I have to buy my raw butter from farms, and I've never been able to find raw goat butter, so I stick with raw cow butter simply because I can get it raw. Octavio asks, can a person live on just blood? Is blood a viable substitute to all other foods? Well, blood is not a substitute for all other foods. Blood is a food. In our modern world, we have completely forgotten about this, but in the past, people mostly drank blood instead of drinking water. And when we talk about salt water on a fasting diet, the only reason we would need salt water is because we're not drinking blood. Blood from an animal is very, very, very salty, and we would be getting a lot of salt naturally that way. But this is why we end up putting salt on our foods today, because we're not drinking a natural diet, which includes blood. Can you live on blood? Of course you can. I don't know if you'd want to live only on blood. There is a tribe in Africa called the Maasai who live on both blood and milk, occasionally eat meat, but mostly they live on blood and milk. So we know that absolutely it is done. It can be done. And they're a very tall tribe too, very healthy. So we know that people do it. Even still today, people did it in the past. So you can, but number one, it's very difficult to come across blood, depending on where you live. I can get blood easily when I lived in Thailand, but I've seen pork blood here available at the Asian markets, but it is not a very common thing to get a hold of here in the United States. His next question, how can we visually identify whether a slice of meat came from a grass-fed animal or a grain-fed animal? The grain-fed animal / corn-fed animal will have a lot more marbling. The grass-fed animal does not have a lot of marbling. It will have chunks of fat, but that marbling, the fat marbling you see throughout the steak, if you see a whole bunch of fat marbling, that means it is a corn-fed, grain-fed animal, because that does not happen in nature. Animals who eat their natural diet don't get fat all through their muscle like that. So that's the easiest way to know it, is the amount of marbling. The more marbling, the more you know that it was not fed a natural diet. Caleb R. asks, hey Vic, what are your thoughts on kombucha? Well, I'll tell you, kombucha from the store, I'm not a fan, specifically because they put a lot of sugar into it, and that's no good. However, if you want to make kombucha at home, I would say go for it. Any kind of fermented food is generally good because you are mitigating or eliminating a lot of the sugar that you would get, and you are feeding on the bacteria. And regardless of what the doctors today tell you, bacteria is generally good for you, and we need more bacteria in our stomachs, not less. So that's that. Rohan asks, hi Victor, are you familiar with the 4 masculine archetypes, which are the king, warrior, magician, and lover, and which one do you consider yourself? All right, well, if you're a real man, you've got to be all 4. A real man is never one or just one. What you have to understand about archetypes is that they are you. All archetypes are you. There's never just one, and there's never just a king or a warrior or a magician or a lover. A complete man is all of these things, and especially at different times. So which one am I? All of them. Nate asks, what are your personal records on bench, squat, and deadlift? Well, my bench has always been dog shit. My best on bench is 315 by 1. Squat, I've always been terrible at squat. So squat is probably 385 by 1. I'm not built for squatting. Deadlift, however, I am built to deadlift. My best deadlift is 500 pounds exactly by 10 reps. Not 1 rep, 10 reps, 500 pounds. That's 5 plates on each side plus a 2.5 pound plate on each side. Butter Biscuit asks, Vic, have you ever considered doing a YouTube live stream with super chats? Yeah, I might get into live streams in the future. I think that's a possibility. Regarding super chats, my YouTube channel was demonetized, so I will not be able to do super chats. And funny thing, my YouTube channel was I took about 2 years off of YouTube. And in that time, I did not even log into my YouTube channel. And for some reason, my channel was demonetized in that time. But I've never made a dime from YouTube, so I'm not worried about it. Miko asks, do you have an opinion on conspiracy theories like the Kennedy assassination, the moon landings, and 9/11? Yeah, all of those are fake. All of those are not what we have been told. So all of those are real conspiracies. What really happened? Well, that's anybody's guess. But none of those happened the way that the official story says. Simple as that. Jake asks, can you please expand on the concept of slave emotions like humility? Why are these slave emotions? How can you avoid them? And what are the opposite or master traits or emotions? Ooh, great question. And I would love to get into that. What do you say we cover that topic in the next episode of the Bold and Determined podcast? And until next time, my friendly friends, have a nice day.